Hey everyone, it's Eric. A little late getting this video up, but here's my report from the 2016 Knoxville Double Century bike ride. 200-mile ride. My version was a little bit shorter. I'll tell you why in a minute. Starts in Vacaville, goes north up through Napa and Lake counties to Lower Lake, and then returns. Kind of a figure-8 course. Here's the profile, and what I did was this year they had a Lowland option, so I did not do all the climbing that you could on the Highland option. Cut off a few miles as well, but had a great time. Here's the morning, checking in at Lagoon Valley at Peña Adobe Park. Started off before dark, or before it was light rather, and here's some scenes from the ride. This part of the ride is just so pretty. I really enjoy the Napa Valley in the fall. The leaves on the grapevines have just started to turn. Pretty part of the day. We had great weather for the ride too. It topped out in around the 70s. You know, a little bit chilly in the morning, but not too bad. All in all, just a fantastic day to go out and ride your bike.
Hey, Chuck.
So I'll explain what's happening on this part of the video here. So we're descending down toward Pope Valley. It's a long, steep downhill, pretty technical, a lot of turns and so on. And I was almost down to the bottom when I came across this scene. It just happened. The rider that you see down there on the right had some kind of a blowout, as I recall, on one of his tires. He was on the side of the road. There was already a car there checking out, making sure he was okay. There was actually a paramedic in the vehicle. So he was okay, but just an example of some of the dangers that are out there all the time when you're on open roads, sometimes going at high speeds on these rides. Quack Cyclists, who puts on this ride, always does a great job at the rest stops. Nice variety of food, lots of stuff to drink, and get your bottles filled and then get back on the road. Now, this is also part of Napa County, but a part that most of the tourists will never see. This is not the wine country, this is the backcountry, and a very nice part of the county as far as I'm concerned. Lots of great roads back here, very little vehicle traffic, although you'll see some in my videos here just because I kind of highlighted that. But very nice part of the ride. About 40 miles of more or less uninterrupted uphill here to get up to the top, and you'll see we'll go through the iconic tunnel up there in Knoxville. And here's the tunnel. Now once you go through here, it's about another mile or so to the water stop at the top of this climb, but that's not the last climb before lunch. They hit you with a couple more on the way into Clear Lake. Now here's the water stop, and we'll pan around here in a second. Last year's ride never made it this far. They cut it short at 100 miles because of a fire that had just burned through. This is from that fire. There was another fire earlier this year before this ride that affected the town of Lower Lake, and you'll see that in a few minutes. So just a very bad couple of years up here in terms of fire and the devastation that follows. Now we're coming into Lower Lake. Now this is the community that was hit pretty hard by the fires this year. When you drive through, you'll see the downtown looks pretty much untouched, but you don't have to get very far off the road to see areas where just everything was burned to the ground. Now here is the traditional lunch stop. This is at the park here in downtown Lower Lake. And the park itself was not touched, but you'll see in a second right across the street from the park, the homes are just gone, everything gone, burned vehicles, etc. And a little farther down as you're driving through town, you can see the same thing. So best wishes to the folks there for recovery from a devastating fire. I mentioned earlier that I took the Lowland route this year. Now, the traditional route leaves Clear Lake or Lower Lake and goes up to the top of Cobb Mountain and then back down into Middletown. This year we had an option of bypassing that with some roads that had some rollers on them, but none of the miles of 10% climbing. Now I've done the other route something like 10 times. I figured, okay, I earned a year off this time. It was much more fun and a little bit shorter. So here's my last shot from this ride. This is the last rest stop, about 12 miles to go to the finish, and it was just kind of getting too dark to film after that. So the last thing I'll mention in this video is the fact that a longtime California Triple Crown stalwart, Frank Neal, passed away a little bit before this video was made. Great guy, a rider himself, who also made it possible for many of us to do these rides, and this video is presented in his honor. Thanks, Frank.